Are you paying sales tax on cards you're buying online to resell? You shouldn't be. That's costing you a lot of unnecessary money. In today's Sports Card Investor, I'm going to tell you how to not pay that sales tax and also how to limit your liability, ensure your collection, and properly report what you're doing to the IRS. My name is Jeff Wilson. By day, I invest in tech companies. And at night, I invest in sports cards. Join me on my journey to profit from the hobby we all love. Hello, sports card investors, and welcome to another episode. I hope you are having a great weekend. I hope you are safe and sound inside and making the best of the situation. And I am excited about this week, because this Wednesday, I get to open up all of these boxes and give these cards away for free to my members on a member-only live stream Wednesday night at 9 p.m. My members will be there. The question is, will you? Will you be there to get your chance at getting some of these free cards? I hope you are a member of my membership program. If you are not, there's still time to sign up before Wednesday. Go to sportscardinvestor.com and click on membership in the main menu bar. Today, I wanted to talk about a topic that I am surprised more people don't know about. And it's the topic of sales tax, and more importantly, how to avoid sales tax, because I just got hit with this in Georgia. And I know that Georgia is actually one of the last states to implement this. So many of you out there have been getting hit with sales tax on your eBay purchases and other forms of online purchases that you have been doing. In some cases, for the last year, you've been getting hit with this. And of course, as a sports card investor, you know that the last thing you want to do is pay tax on your investments, because that tax eats in to the profit that you hope to make. If you've got to pay 7% or 8% or 10% sales tax on your purchases, it makes it that much harder to be able to make profit and sell that card for a profit, especially when you consider that then when you go on to sell the card, you got to pay seller fees and, credit card fees and all that kind of stuff as well. So paying taxes, sales taxes especially, should be avoided if you can avoid it. And it's easy to avoid. It's easy to avoid as long as you are going to resell the sports cards that you are buying. Anything that you buy for the purpose of later reselling it, you do not have to pay sales tax on, because you are therefore a dealer of that item. You are acting as a business, you are acting as a dealer, and you are buying that item for the purpose of later reselling that item. And if you're buying something specifically for the purpose of resale, you should not have to pay sales tax. Now, let me tell you, first of all, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an accountant, and I am therefore unable to give you legal or financial advice. But I am a business owner, and I have started over my lifetime 11 or 12 different businesses. And I've had to deal with sales tax a lot, and I've had to deal with income tax a lot, and I understand how a lot of this works. And one thing that I understand is that if you're operating as a business and you're buying things that you're later going to resell, then you don't pay sales tax on your purchases. Now, eBay in particular has made it very easy for you to not have to pay sales tax. But you have to go through the proper steps first with your state government to register as a dealer or as a business, so that you are telling your government, hey, I'm buying certain things that I'm going to eventually resell. And so those things that I'm going to be buying should not have sales tax applied to those things. First of all, in order to go through this process, you need to be a business entity of some sort, or at least a lot of states require this. Now, it's very simple. You can be a sole proprietor. A sole proprietor is where you as an individual are acting as a business. And you can actually get what's called a fictitious name for yourself. Most states offer a fictitious name registration, where you can get a fictitious name. So if your name is John Smith, you can actually get a fictitious name saying John Smith is going to be doing business as John's Sports Card Company. All you have to do to get that in most states is apply for a fictitious name. And you can find out more information about that by going to your, Googling it. Googling fictitious name in the name of your state, and you'll get information about it. Now, one tip there, look for your official state government's website. Because the moment you Google fictitious name in your state or corporation in your state, you're going to find all of these companies that are acting like they're your state government, but they're really trying to sell you the services of they'll register your fictitious name or your corporation for you. And in most cases, that's a ripoff because you can go do it yourself right through the state and save yourself money. So make sure you're looking at your state's official website. Now, filing a fictitious name for your own personal self is a good way to be able to start using your business name. But one thing it doesn't do is it doesn't limit your liability in any way. Because as a sole practitioner, you are operating as yourself, even if you're using a business name. However, you could register as a limited liability company, an LLC, and a single member LLC, and that actually gives you the benefit of being truly a separate business entity where you are actually shielded from liability and you have a true business. Yet at the same time, if it's a single member LLC, then it just flows through to your personal tax return, which means you don't have to file a separate business tax return with the IRS each year. So a single member LLC is a very nice structure to use for this type of purpose. If you are going to be buying and selling sports cards and it's only you, then file a single member LLC with whatever business name you want. Go through your state to file it. Search, in your state for how do I file a single member LLC with the name of your state. Find your official government website. It's typically like a division of corporations for your government, and you can go through and file a single member LLC. And of course, I suggest do some more reading on this. If you have an attorney, if you have an accountant, talk to them. Again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an accountant. I'm just telling you based on my experience setting up different businesses in Florida and Georgia that this is the way that I've gone about things in the past and it has worked successfully. So I mentioned liability, one of the reasons to set up a single member LLC from a liability standpoint. Now, what that means is that if you were to ever get sued in the future, the person suing you would have to sue your LLC if you're acting out of a business capacity instead of suing you personally. Where if you just simply are a sole proprietor and simply use a fictitious name, then they can personally sue you should something go wrong instead of only being able to sue your LLC. Now, if you're just simply buying and selling sports cards, there really shouldn't be much liability. You're not really providing a service or doing anything that should be a big cause of concern when it comes to liability. But nonetheless, in my opinion, if you're going into business, why not take the step of protecting your personal assets? It's just a smart thing to do. So that if for any reason somebody decides that you wronged them and they're going to sue you, they sue your LLC and your personal assets have some protection from that. Again, talk to your attorney about all the specifics of that. I'm not making any, legal advice here, but I'm telling you again from my experience that setting up a single member LLC can help provide some of that legal protection to you. So that would be my preferred entity to set up for the purpose of buying and selling sports cards. Now, once you've got your single member LLC set up, then go apply for a sales tax certificate through your state. By applying for a sales tax certificate, you are saying to the state that I will collect sales tax whenever I resell an item. So if I'm putting an item up for sale, I will collect sales tax and send the sales tax to the state. So that obligation does follow you around. But of course, if you're going to sell an item on eBay, eBay is already going to collect the sales tax for you. So when you are buying the item, you should not have to pay sales tax if you have a sales tax certificate and you are going to be reselling the item. And eBay makes this process very easy. Your state should also make this process very easy. So I'm going to show you, this is right here, is where in the state of Georgia, this is where you go. So when I applied for a sales tax certificate for my company that I set up specifically for the purpose of buying and selling sports cards, I went here to the Georgia Department of Revenue's website. It's going to be the same type of thing with a lot of your states. And I went down here to tax registration, sales and use tax. So you just simply need to Google the name of your state, sales and use tax registration. Again, make sure you find your official government website and apply as a business entity. First, set up your business entity, then come here and apply to get this sales tax registration. Once you have that, you can then fill out a sales tax exemption form. This is what the state of Georgia's sales tax exemption form looks like. And what you do is you put the name of the supplier who you're buying things from. So in this case, you would put to eBay. And then you check, in this case, box 1, which says that purchases of tangible personal property or services are for resale only, meaning I'm buying things from eBay because I'm going to resell those things. If you check that box, you sign at the bottom, you put your sales tax number there, which is the number you'll get from your state when you register for your sales and use tax license. And then all you have to do is on eBay's website, they have a whole section right here. This page on eBay's website, which is called Paying Tax on eBay's Purchases, makes it very easy for you it explains to you how you can go through the process of submitting your sales tax exemption. All you have to do is click this. Click that button, and eBay will say, hey, if you are a tax exempt buyer, upload your tax exemption certificate, which again is in the state of Georgia, this thing that I would have just filled out and I would have scanned. And now I'm going over here to this page on eBay and I am saying I'm uploading a tax exemption certificate and I'm simply clicking add file and I'm uploading it. In my case, eBay reviewed this within a couple hours and then they applied sales tax exemption to my account. And now all of the sports cards that I am buying on eBay, I no longer have to pay sales tax on. Now, again, this is only a legal valid thing to do if you are going to be reselling these sports cards. If you are an active buyer and seller of sports cards, this is the way to go about it. If you're buying sports cards for your personal collection and you have no plan to resell them and you are not treating what you are doing as a business entity, then you should not be doing this because you actually do need to pay sales tax on those sports cards because you're not buying them specifically for the purpose of reselling them. A couple of other things to keep in mind. First of all, one rule that a lot of states have to not paying sales tax on your purchases is that you cannot modify the item. When you get the item, you have to resell the item in the same form that you got the item as, which probably technically means you shouldn't be sales tax exempt if you're going to buy cards and then have them graded. So if you're going to buy raw cards, send them off for grading, and then resell them, technically you probably are supposed to pay sales tax because you have modified the item by sending it off for grading. But that gets into some real kind of detailed stuff about how these sales tax laws work. And that's a question, if you're concerned about that you would definitely need to ask your accountant in your state because they're going to know more about this certainly than I do. Another thing I'll mention is that other ways to avoid sales tax, a creative way to avoid sales tax is to do business through ComC. Check out my cards, comc.com. They have a really unique setup where when you are buying and selling on ComC, you actually are buying credits from ComC, and then you're using your credits to buy and sell cards throughout the course of the site. And so you can actually flip cards without having to pay sales tax on every single transaction because you're paying sales tax on the front end when you're buying these credits. And so it's a little bit of a interesting business model that actually helps with the sales tax issue. So ComC could be, even if you're a collector, one way that you could help yourself on the sales tax issue is by going to ComC. And of course, there's other ways to buy sports cards. To be honest with you, even though they should, most dealers at card shows do not charge sales tax. There's a lot of cash transactions done at card shows. And they are technically supposed to charge sales tax. If you are setting up as a dealer at a card show, you are technically supposed to charge sales tax. But a lot of dealers don't, and cash is king. So if you walk into a card show, you can negotiate with cash, and you can often buy cards, without sales tax. And of course, if you're doing private sales of cards, selling through a Facebook group, and it's a one-on-one private sale, if it's not a business transaction, then in a lot of cases, sales tax is not going to be charged or necessarily expected to be charged there either. I don't know what the state governments think about that, but I just know from my experience that oftentimes if you're doing the private sale of sports cards through Facebook groups or that type of thing, you're probably not, concerning yourself with sales tax, during that process. So those are all some things to keep in mind with sales tax. But the bottom line is that if you are right now paying sales tax on eBay purchases that you are then going to later turn around and resell or flip, do what I just suggested. Don't pay that sales tax. Let's not throw money out the window. Let's instead put that money in your pocket by helping you become a more profitable sports card investor. I also wanted to mention insurance. Insurance is an important consideration in all of this. If you're starting to build up an expensive sports card collection, your homeowner's insurance, and I'm assuming you're keeping the sports cards at home, your homeowner's insurance is probably not covering much or any of it. You probably need some type of specialty insurance that covers the contents of your home. Now, the first place I would recommend, talking to about that would be your insurance broker, and say, hey, I've got all these sports cards. If something happens to them, am I covered with my homeowner's insurance? The answer is probably no. So your insurance broker should be able to give you options. Whoever you bought your homeowner's insurance through should be able to give you options. There are some specialty resellers online, and if you Google sports card insurance, you'll find some companies online that do insurance for sports cards. There's a lot of different ways to do it. Now, it is important to note that if you are buying and selling sports cards as a business, using the method that I just described, setting up an LLC, getting a sales tax certificate, then you may need a different type of insurance. You may need business inventory insurance. That is different than homeowner's insurance or even insurance for valuable goods in your home. That may be different than your traditional sports card insurance. So check into business insurance that will protect your inventory if you're buying things for a business purpose. Now, the final thing I wanted to talk about today is actually income tax and reporting things to the IRS, because I've seen this question come up before. How do you report to the IRS? Do you report to the IRS? How does that all work? And my answer is, yeah, I do report to the IRS because I am treating this like a business. And honestly, guys, if you're doing a small volume of buying at card shows and reselling here and reselling there, and it's kind of a cash type thing that you're doing, the IRS is probably not going to care too much about that. And look, again, I'm not an accountant, and what I just said is in no way official, and I may have the feds at my door tomorrow morning. But the truth is, right? I mean, if you're just kind of personally doing it and it's not really a lot of money, a lot of steam, a lot of business behind it, it's probably not that big of a deal. But if you're getting serious about it and you're buying a lot of stuff on eBay and selling a lot of stuff on eBay or through any of these other sites, or you're really setting up at card shows and doing a ton of business and you're building a big collection of buying and selling, you need to be tracking that and you need to be reporting that to the IRS, because that is activity, financial activity that's running through your accounts. And whether you set it up as a business account or whether you're just all doing it personally, it's something you do need to be, watching out for. Now, the IRS does have a classification for collectibles. The IRS tax rate on collectibles is 28%. That is their long-term capital gains rate on collectibles, and long-term capital gains are triggered if you hold the item for at least 1 year. So in other words, if I buy a sports card tomorrow and I hold on to that sports card for at least a year and then I resell it, I'm going to pay 28% of the profit that I made off of it. So not the whole entire sale amount, just the profit that I made off of it. So it's important that you keep really clear records so you always can show, here's what I paid for it and here's what I sold it for, so that you can show the IRS, hey, here's the exact tax that I owe. Now, if you held the item for less than a year, then you are going to pay your ordinary income tax rate on the profit that you made on that particular item, whatever your ordinary income tax rate is. So the same income tax rate that you pay on money that you get through your job, you're going to pay that same tax rate on money that you get on the profit from buying and selling sports cards if you have it for less than a year. If you have it for more than a year, you're going to pay a rate of 28%, which is the long-term capital gains rate. So just all different things to keep in mind. Again, if you're curious about any or all of this, and if you're serious about buying and selling sports cards and you're doing a lot of it, I highly recommend talking to your accountant. I highly recommend talking to a lawyer. They're going to set you up with a lot more knowledge and advice than I am. But I wanted to share what I know as a business owner, and I wanted to share that with you. So hopefully these things will all come in helpful as you are starting to think about sports card investing from a true business standpoint and truly ramping this up into being, a big, hopefully very, very profitable thing for you in the future. So I hope you found all of this helpful. I also hope that you can join me Wednesday night for my membership program live stream where I'm opening up Prism and Contenders hobby box and football boxes. It's going to be so much fun. Go to my website, sportscardinvestor.com, and click on the membership link in the main menu bar to be part of this. And please give my YouTube channel a subscribe and my podcast a subscribe. I really appreciate you doing that. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Thank you so much, everybody. Remain safe out there. See you again for my next episode. Take care.